It's SuperTalk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Foundation Studio right here on Biloxi's Back Bay, I want to welcome you to SuperTalk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because as I say every single week, Mississippi is the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network, or on SuperTalk TV at C-Spire TV, but some of you are joining us using YouTube or Facebook or your favorite podcasts. With that said, it's July the 31st, 2023. By the way, the views on this show are mine, not those of the Foundation. When it comes to the outdoors and outdoors issues, you can count on me to say what needs to be said. I am honored to be in this position. By the way, I'm really honored to be supported by the Foundation. That organization is stronger today than it has ever been. In fact, I'll have a few principals from the executive committee join me in the next couple of weeks to just talk about how strong they really are. Very, very pleased to see the work of this incredible board of directors and the way that they doubled down on the future. Pretty good stuff. I'm honored to be here. Hey, so before I begin today's show, I want to share some heartbreaking news. Yesterday, my sisters and I lost our beloved mother. She meant the world to us. In the midst of our profound loss, I find solace and the fact that the sun still rises. And I posted something about that this morning, just as the lyrics from the famous song remind us, the sun will come out tomorrow. But today, as I embrace and as we embrace the beautiful outdoors, let us take a minute and honor and remember all of our mothers who will forever hold a special place in our hearts. I would not have come to understand or appreciate the amazing outdoors had it not been for the support of my dear mother. I found a quote this morning that emphasizes the enduring love and support that our mothers provide, especially as we venture out into the great outdoors. So anyway, this is what it said. Mothers hold their children's hands for a while, but their hearts forever. You know, I don't know who the author was of that, but I tell you what, that can't be more true. So now let's shift gears. I am thrilled to have my friend Adam Butler join me this morning. We're going to talk about the turkey hatch and the brood survey that's underway at the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. He's the Wild Turkey Program Coordinator, and he's become a really good friend of mine over the past couple of years. Anyway, Adam, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Sorry for your loss, Ricky. I hate to hear that.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. You know what's interesting? We are really, really blessed. We know Mom is in a better place, but we're very lucky that we had her to inspire us over all these years. And you heard what I said, you know, when you think about the outdoors, mothers hold their children's hands for a while, but their hearts forever. Man, that's so true, isn't it?
All of us, you know, Mom has a special place, you know, and like you, my mom was not an outdoorsman or outdoors woman, I guess I should say. I don't think she would claim that title, but she certainly saw it in me and nurtured it when I was young. So I don't know that I'd be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for my mother and her ability to see that in me and her love for science too. She was a science teacher for most of her teaching career. So both of those things probably have a big bearing on why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, my mother, she would enjoy fishing from time to time, but man, did she just love the outdoors. Like I have so many amazing memories of spending time at Paul B. Johnson State Park with Mom and Dad and our kid, you know, my siblings, just enjoying the campfire and roasting marshmallows and hot dogs and just enjoying the outdoors and you know, sitting on a stream in the Great Smoky Mountains. I lived early in my life. I came to Gulfport when I was 4. So, you know, born in Birmingham, lived in Mobile, and then Pensacola, then moved here. But my grandparents lived in Pensacola for a long period of time. My mother loved Pensacola Beach. So we would spend weeks and weeks during the summer in Pensacola Beach. And it's so interesting because where we would stay was about a half a mile from the Pensacola Beach pier. And she would, you know, when I was just a kid, man, she would just let me leave early in the morning and I'd walk down the beach with my rod and go to Pensacola Beach Pier and stay there all day long, catching, as I remember as 10-year-old catching king mackerel and lemonfish and hooking big sharks and every now and then hooking a tarpon. And I look back on it now, and I wouldn't have let my 10-year-old son walk down the beach and go to the big pier,
Yeah.
But she did that a lot. She let me just venture off, and she had reason to trust me, that's for sure. But I look back on it now and I realize just what a gift that was to give me the freedom to go do that, to go enjoy the outdoors.
Sure.
Did you have similar stories like that?
Yeah, similar for me. I grew up in Lawrence County, out in the country, and right there where my parents had 14 acres, but all the neighbors around us, didn't really care if us kids kind of wandered over their place. So I had, free reign to a pretty good bit of land right there around the house. And even before I was old enough to hunt, my parents would let me just, like you say, just wander off and explore the woods. And that is my, when I think back on my childhood, that's what I remember, just getting home from school, walking out the back door. We had an old mutt dog that was always at my side, and just roaming and kind of taking in God's creation and falling in love with it. And I'm kind of like you looking back on it, because a lot of those days I was not much older probably than my son is now. And the tolerance that my mother must have had to, me be gone up until I'm pretty well black dark outside, with the snakes and the chiggers and the everything, not knowing where I was, different time, but certainly that freedom to get out and enjoy the woods and kind of fall in love with the outdoors had a huge bearing on my life. No doubt.
It's amazing. I mentioned it before we started the show, but I had some woods. I don't know how many acres of woods behind my house in Bellevue, a community on the bayou in Gulfport, and friends like Farrell Allman and Roy Anderson III and Raymond Seal, God rest his soul, and Riley Morris and Steve Singleton and my dear friend Monty Simpkins and Mark Simpkins. We all lived around this big plot of woods, and we we would build forts and pretend to hunt, and we had wars, and I think back at it, and I don't know that we had the freedom to let that happen today, but my mom just let us, all of our moms just let us go. Yeah. And we explored, and we built some of the most unsafe tree houses God on the face of this earth. It is a miracle that we're alive today, buddy. Adam, you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, man. We did that too. We had forts, and we we call them wars, where we'd get and throw stuff at one another, and it's wonder we didn't poke people's eye out and stuff like that. I'll tell you a funny story along these lines. So just here recently, within the last year or two, my parents were cleaning out something at their house, and they found an old, I had stashed it away somewhere. I'm 41 now. And I guess when I was 12, I had stashed this map away. I had drawn a map of basically everywhere where I was exploring. And my parents come to me, 30 years gone by, and they say, I cannot believe you were wandering this far from home. If we would have known you were going, they couldn't believe how accurate my little 12-year-old map was. And they said, I cannot believe you were wandering this far from home. We would have never let you done it if we'd have known. So,
Adam, what would be, it's so interesting because this show because it's a long format show, we get a chance to kind of delve. But, everyone I bet has a similar story like that. I often talk on the show about the inspiration that people get from their grandfathers and their grandmothers and their fathers and their mothers and, extended family, et cetera, to love the outdoors. But, this notion of exploration, and I love this thought of having a map, basically.
Of course, when they found it, I remembered it, and I have to save it, like I have it now. And, but yeah, they had a little moment. I can't believe you were going that far from home. But they were tolerant and patient with me and allowed me to do it, and I'm better for it today.
That's such a beautiful story, and it's so true. But anyway, yeah, it's a somber day, but I have very strong faith, and I rest easily knowing that our mother is in a good place now, and we'll deal with the loss. Time will heal, and life goes on. But Mothers hold their children's hands for a while, but their hearts forever. Man, that is so true. Gosh, that is so true. So, Adam, we don't have much time left in this segment, but how have you been doing in general?
Good, good. This is the time of the year when we're sort of assessing how the turkey hatch is, and so that's on our minds. A lot of folks asking.
Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are. Hey, listen, when we come back, thanks for Gary hanging in there with us as we sort of reflected a bit on our mothers. And when we come back, we'll talk about what Adam is doing in the wild turkey program these days. We'll see after this.
Sweet soul for him. I said 3 Mississippi to this land called home. I'll breathe Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Just carry on. I'll carry on. Mississippi.
Leading the conversation on Mississippi's outdoors. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I really enjoyed reflecting on what our mothers mean to us with my friend Adam Butler, who's head of the Wild Turkey Program for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And, the biggest question I get is, what is the heat? What impact is the heat having on the wild turkey population? What's the latest on that?
Well, I don't know that the heat is necessarily affecting them too bad. You do see in parts of the country, like Texas and Oklahoma, you get out west, kind of in the Rio Grande turkey range, and when they get really extreme heat, it can certainly affect things with the hatch and stuff like that, or affect the little poults. When they're really small, they can't regulate their body temperature very well. I think our turkeys probably respond to it by just staying down in the deep, dark, shady woods, and you're not going to see them out in open fields as much when it's really, really hot. And I think some of that's going on, and I think that's playing in. I mentioned our brood survey before we cut the break. I think that's playing in some of that right now. Our observations in the brood survey are sort of showing we're not seeing quite as many turkeys, and people I talk to haven't, they're all, I haven't seen any lately. And it very well could be because it's so hot. They're just going to stay. They're going to stay where it's shady, man. You can imagine being a black bird covered with feathers. It doesn't take a whole lot of sunshine to get you really hot. So they're probably hanging out in the shade.
Hey, so Adam, talk to us about, when we talk about the turkey hatch, the critical time around that, and then how do you conduct a brood survey, and how does it apply to what you deploy in terms of your management techniques?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, turkeys are a species that is absolutely driven by their reproduction, which means their hatch, when they have little ones, I mean, that's going to dictate how many turkeys there are, for the next couple of years. So it's really important to try to understand what that looks like. The turkey nesting time is a little bit earlier. So most of them are nesting in, from let's say early to mid-April through early June-ish. So we're past that time. Most of the poults, the little turkeys, as you would call them, have already hatched out. But the Department of Wildlife and our partners, we survey during kind of the middle part of the summer, June, July, and August. We conduct a survey across the state to try to get a handle on how good that hatch was. And so we're, like I said, we're right now in the middle of it, and it's pretty straightforward. People that work for our agency, both biologists and conservation officers, and then partner organizations like Forestry Commission, Forest Service, different private partners help us by gathering observations. And then we can kind of look at a couple of things that tell us how good the hatch was. We can look at the proportion of the hens that have poults with them. That tells us a lot. We can look at sort of the ratio of the total number of poults to the total number of hens. We can look at, we're actually tabulating gobblers during that time too. So we can look at kind of the male to female. So we get a lot of information about the population from this survey, and it's relatively cheap and easy to do. When you've got several hundred eyes out in the field every day across the state, you can get a lot of information that helps guide us forward.
Well, talk more about how they communicate with you.
It's pretty simple. We got a couple of different ways now. We actually have an app, like everybody, we're moving to mobile stuff. But we've been doing it for 30 years on data sheets that people carry with them. And when they encounter turkeys in sort of their normal, just out in the field line of work, they're recording that information. And then, we end up with a data set that's got, several thousand observations in it from across the state throughout the summer. And you can learn a lot just by looking at all of that. And what's interesting is most every other state does something similar to this. And up until a couple of years ago, we all kind of had different methodologies that we were doing, especially sort of how we analyze the data on the back end. But as there's been more and more concern about turkey populations over the last couple of years, one of the things I'm really proud of is as a group throughout the Southeast and really throughout the country, we've all kind of came together to look at how we conduct those surveys and look at how we analyze that data and started standardizing things so that it gives us a lot better insight on where turkeys are doing well, where they're not doing well, and hopefully that allows us to start better understanding what's driving trends. Because it used to be that, I would have my number and my colleague next door in Louisiana would have their number, but those numbers weren't exactly apples to apples because we did things a little bit differently. But over the last, 5 or 6, 8 years, throughout the country, different turkey biologists, we've all kind of came together to standardize the way we report those so that we can gain better understanding of how this majestic bird's doing throughout the country.
Yeah, I'm a former CEO and often said in my life as a CEO and even before that what gets measured gets done. But in order to measure it, this point around standardization is really, really important. So metrics, can help you improve if they're comparable. So finding a standard approach then and enabling you guys to share your data with one another, you can find best practices. You can find where there may be some challenges. You can set new goals to say, okay, this is an area we want to improve, or maybe we're doing great in this area and we can even do better based on what's happening in Arkansas or wherever. The data you get is empowering, isn't it?
Right, and that's when you're talking about data or science, you got to keep in mind your goal is usually pretty long term, a lot longer term than a lot of hunters like to think, because as we standardize and as we've got data that we can compare to one another, you can start to see trends over long periods of time. Like you just mentioned, different states do things differently. So different hunting frameworks differ from state to state. Habitat trends differ from region of the country to region of the country. So there's all sorts of things if you're looking from state to state that are different, that over time may help us to understand, who's really managing the species best, or which set of practices tend to be best. Well, the only way you can really understand that is to have comparable data across all of those different frameworks. So it's almost like we've got, there's 49 different states with huntable turkey populations. So you've almost got like 49 little experiments. And as long as we have data that we can compare to one another, eventually you can figure out whose little experiment, is the best. So. Yeah,
I had our friend William McKinley on last week, and we talked about chronic wasting disease and the concerns around that. So the deer managers across the state have their work cut out for them, because obviously the only approach to managing CWD that we currently know about is containment. Are there any concerns that are beginning to evolve as it relates just to diseases and turkeys that's something you're concerned about, or just something you have to pay attention to? What's on your mind as it relates to that?
Yeah, so with turkeys, there are several diseases that pop up. Now, none of them sort of have the long-term implications that CWD would. CWD is, it's literally an existential crisis when it comes to deer, but it's a very slow-moving, long-term crisis. The real implications of CWD are decades and decades into the future, and that makes it hard to deal with. With turkeys, there's a lot of diseases that pop up, and what you see are, you can see localized flare-ups in particular diseases that can cause kind of short-term dips. The diseases that are probably most common that we see with turkeys are avian pox, and another one that's a mouthful. It's called lymphoproliferative disease virus. Both of those, we shorten it to LPDV. You'll hear people talk about LPDV with turkeys. Both of those are viruses. Avian pox is common to all birds, and you see little flare-ups of it from time to time. LPDV is one we don't quite know as much about, but we think it has some immune system issues where it can compromise birds' immune system. And so what ends up happening is, like I said, turkeys are driven by reproduction, and you get these big bumps where their numbers can really shoot up. And sometimes when their numbers get really high, you can see disease play into kind of regulating that. So It does not, it's not the long-term crisis with turkeys that CWD would be, but we do worry about it because it can have localized effects for shorter periods of time.
So you guys continue to focus on the wild turkey program in Mississippi, as you've told me in the past, that not only is it a popular type of hunting in the state of Mississippi, but lots of folks coming in from outside of Mississippi to enjoy our great wild turkey hunting, and that makes management of that resource critical, doesn't it?
For sure. We're Mississippi, Alabama, some of the deep South states, we're sort of looked at throughout the country as being kind of the heart and soul of spring turkey hunting. I like to think, I'm probably biased, I like to think that, but I mean, when you look at sort of some of the name brands within the hunting industry that are so synonymous with turkey hunting, they're based here, and I think there's a reason for that. So we have national prominence when it comes to a lot of hunting, but particularly turkey hunting, I think.
Yeah, the Will Primos and Preston Pittman and the Mossy Oaks guys, and the list goes on and on. Anyway, hey, listen, Adam, it's been great to catch up with you, my friend.
Yep, same here. Sorry about your mother.
Thank you, man. God bless you, my friend. Hey, when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Nathan Blount. We'll see you after this. As we listen to my dear friend Steve Azar and his song "One Mississippi," what an amazing song that is! The state song for Mississippi, and also the theme song for SuperTalk Outdoors. Hey, listen, I really enjoyed visiting with Adam and Adam Butler, who's head of the wild turkey program for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We had a chance to chat both before and after and during the breaks, and he was very thoughtful and expressing his condolences to me and my family in the passing of my mother. But it was interesting to chat about how our mothers let us go roam, and how the role that our mothers played in helping us love the outdoors. That was so interesting. And hearing his story of his parents finding this map and seeing this map that he drew up when he was a kid, it reminded us of Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer days. So many pleasant memories. But you just never, you're going to find inspiration behind so many of our guests. That is for sure. And by the way, during the break, our next guest, Nathan Blount, who's a wildlife management area biologist for the Northeast region, Adam tells me that he is a serious turkey hunter and has killed a wild turkey in every state in the United States except 2 states. Wow. So I wouldn't have known that because it's certainly not in his bio. Anyway, without any further ado, let me go over to my friend Nathan Blount. How you doing, Nathan?
Pretty good. How about y'all?
We're doing good, man. We're doing really good. Where are you sitting right now?
I'm currently sitting in Tishomingo County, Mississippi. It's where I reside.
Oh, good,
as
man.
far north and east as you can get in the state.
I always love to hear people's story about how they came to love the outdoors. But, man, someone inspired you big time along the way. Where did that come from?
The turkey.
Yeah,
the turkey. Lee County had its first turkey season. Grew up around the Tupelo area in 2004. And that's when I started turkey hunting. And downhill ever since.
Well, where did this goal to shoot a turkey in every state come from?
Well, in 2006, me and my dad went on our first out-of-state trip for turkey, a high school graduation present. We went on a guided Texas turkey hunt and thought, this is pretty cool. Let's go somewhere else. 2007, we went to the Black Hills of South Dakota. 2008, we started going to Missouri, and then each year we just try to add a new place. And about 2016 or 17, started hearing about people doing what they call the U.S. Super Slam, and that's when you get a turkey in all 49 states. And I thought, well, I got 16, 17 states now. I think I can do this, and here we are. Hopefully, I can finish up this coming season.
Where have you not killed a turkey now?
Arizona and Delaware.
So, which one are you going to this coming year?
Both.
Are you really?
Yes, sir.
So, does the National Wild Turkey Federation, do they have some sort of distinction, or is there some organization that sort of sanctions that after you get that?
Yes, sir. Once you get the turkey, get one in all the states, you can get it registered with them and get on their Super Slam list. It's becoming very popular, believe it or not, and it's a lot of people are going for it now.
Well, that's neat, though. That's what a cool thing, man. What a conversation piece. But the other neat thing about it is you've been able to see some really cool places, haven't you?
Yep. This spring, went to Hawaii. And that was pretty cool, hunting a turkey on a volcano there.
Wow.
About 9,000 feet.
Hey, listen, Nathan, I say on my show every week that Mississippi is the capital of the outdoors. So when you think about the Delta and Northeast Mississippi and what's happening in Central Mississippi and the backwater fishing of coastal Mississippi and offshore fishing, and I could go on and on and on. You know that. But you had the opportunity when you travel outside the state, gives you a great perspective about how valuable Mississippi is to this nation. We are the capital of the outdoors in this wonderful United States, aren't we?
Yes, sir, we are. And luckily, we have an abundance of public land to pursue our passion on.
I say that often. Our forefathers were smart fellas when they decided to set so much land aside for public hunting and public enjoyment. But man, we're really, it's a jewel. It's a jewel in this state, the work that the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks does to help make sure that these WMA wildlife management area hunts and just enjoying the public land is the best it can be. It's incredible, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I can assure you our staff takes so much pride in our WMA system, from our managers to our biologists. I mean, we love it. We absolutely love what we do.
Well, you're sort of known as a draw hunt specialist. I would think that probably in your job you've learned a lot about what other states are doing, but maybe in your turkey exploits you've also learned a lot about how the draw hunts work as well. But what did you do to sort of get that distinction?
Just the finagling in the different draw systems of other states. I've probably dealt with draw systems in at least 20 other states for both turkey and western big game like elk and mule deer and stuff. And every state does it their own way. Each system has its pros and cons. And I've just always taken an interest. I'm a data nerd. I like seeing how many applicants we have, looking at draw stats and just putting it all together.
So at the end of the day, though, when you have public land that's extraordinarily popular, and that's definitely true of the WMAs of Mississippi, when they get to a certain level of popularity, it sort of forces a conversation around draw hunts, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it does. And our draw system was established 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. We had a few newer WMAs come into the system, smaller WMAs, and just due to their size, 2,000 to 5,000 acres and some decent deer hunting, you just can't have it wide open for everybody. And so the draw hunts was put in place to that to kind of get a handle on the hunting pressure and maintain quality hunting opportunities. I know some of our WMAs in the Delta, which, home of the big bucks in the state, hunting pressure was getting pretty high on some of them. And around the same time, they started implementing the draw hunts.
And it pays off, though, doesn't it?
And
yeah, I'm sorry.
It does. You can go out, have a great hunt. Don't have to worry about too many other hunters. Whereas if it was just wide open, you may be seeing orange walking by you throughout the day or something. But we know we pick a certain amount of hunters to draw. And over the years, all the data we collect, the hunter use data, we can have an idea what the turnout's going to be. and we can move that number either way if we see fit. You know, folks start saying, well, I'm seeing too many other hunters on this draw hunt, or we can lower the number we draw to make sure, to maintain that level of quality.
It's something you have to really pay attention to. And of course, on this show, we've talked a lot about how the pandemic, while it made a lot of people stop going out and just concerts and whatever, they darn sure enjoyed being out in the outdoors. They felt safe when they were in the outdoors. And that's definitely true about the WMAs, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And our data reflects that we had a surge in applicants since 2020, pretty big bump. And interest in WMA draw hunts definitely went up.
So what are people's general reaction to the fact that draw hunts are required?
Nowadays, they became pretty accepted. When we have to implement them on a new area, if there may be a little hesitation at first, but in the past 5 years, I think we've added 3 to 4 turkey draws, and in the beginning, especially the locals aren't too pleased with it, but once they get drawn and they can go out for there a couple of days and see the effect it has, I mean, just the hunting experience is so much greater. Not having, say if you have a goblin turkey, instead of 2 or 3 people being on that goblin turkey, you can probably have them to yourself.
Yeah. Hey, I've told this story before, but my son Jordan was at law school. I'm sorry, we lost you there for a second. Cal, we probably ought to. You're good. You're good there, Cal. Okay, good. We'll just keep going. But we had a little Wi-Fi blip there, but we're back rolling again. When my son was at the University of Mississippi Ole Miss Law School, he tells a story of a turkey that he pursued for a couple of weeks, actually, on public land up there. And I don't know that he ever saw another person when he was pursuing that particular turkey. He'd get up real early in the morning, go, and it was over multiple ridges to get to it. And they had this incredible conversation for a long time. He pursued it for a long time. He never got it, but he still talks about it as one of the best hunts he's ever done in his life.
Those are the ones you remember. That's for sure.
And that's so funny how that works like that. But turkey hunting in general, as Adam pointed out, and this is not just about turkey hunting, of course, but turkey hunting in general has gotten more popular. I know some deer hunters that hunt on WMA land, and when they talk about it like it's their land. In fact, they treat it like it's their land. That's a good thing, but the bad thing is they treat it like it's their land. So when someone else wants to go hunt there, it's almost like they're treated like they're trespassing. But you've seen that before, haven't you?
I have, and along with public land comes sort of unspoken rules of etiquette, and that's one thing important. We try to educate the hunters themselves, the do's and don'ts of public land hunting in general. If somebody beats you to a spot, move on. Have a plan B. I mean, it's going to happen. You run into somebody in the woods, give them their time, give them their space, and
Hey, one of the cool things about watching the videos on those public land guys that hunt public land is that you really get to see in action what these public land etiquettes are all about. And they don't get worked up. They just accept it. And when we come back with Nathan Blount, we'll talk a little bit more about what is that etiquette. We'll see you after this break.
This land called home, I'll breathe Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Just carry on, I'll carry on, Mississippi.
We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the outdoors. So let's talk about it. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I have Nathan Blount, who's a wildlife management area biologist for the Northeast region for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And when we went to break, we were talking about draw hunts because it's super popularity. It's going to help you manage the resource better. It's going to help you manage conflict, which is always going to be sort of part of what's happening. But when I went to break, I mentioned that these public land guys that post these videos of their hunting exploits, first of all, they do do quite well. But from time to time, they do encounter other hunters, and from time to time, there is conflict. And I'm always blown away with how cool they are about it. They'll just, they'll wave and kind of move on. I know that there's conflict from time to time, and as you pointed out during the break, it's maybe often on opening weekend, just because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of new people out there that really don't appreciate the etiquette and so on. But when it works the way it's supposed to, talk to us a little bit more about the public land etiquette.
Main thing is, I always have more than one plan. You're going to get bait to your spot no matter how early you get up, no matter how far you walk. There's going to be somebody getting there earlier, walking farther. Be courteous, be kind. If you're to a spot first, go ahead, head on in. You still may run into somebody. Somebody may come in on you. You run into another hunter, just be open. Tell them where you're going. Tell them where you're planning on hunting. Most of the time, they're going to give you your way. They're going to give you the berth. If somebody pulls up and you're already there, 90% of hunters are going to leave during turkey season. During deer season, it's a little bit different, turkey hunting versus deer hunting as far as the land you utilize. You need a fair amount of land turkey hunting to tromp around, but since deer hunting, you're stationary, you can hunt a few more hunters.
Yeah.
But just be courteous and give people their space.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the two are very different. That is for sure. So when if someone was interested in maybe they've not done public land hunting, maybe they don't know how the draw hunt works or where to go to learn more information about whether it's applicable at this wildlife management area or not. Talk us about the mechanics for someone who wants to understand what they need to do.
Well, first they need to go to our website, MDWFP.com. And there's a green banner at top under wildlife and hunting. You can go to our WMA webpage, and all the information you need can be found within our WMA web pages. So just take the time, go there. We have a WMA draw hunt page, and there it'll show you what hunts are open to apply for. You can go to individual WMAs. Each WMA has its own web page, and it'll show you the regulations for that WMA. You can see the map of that WMA, the boundaries. We have an interactive map, which is very useful for scouting and everything, and it'll pull up the state of Mississippi. You can zoom in and out on WMAs. You can swap between topographical maps, satellite imagery, just a very valuable tool for getting the lay of the land before ever stepping foot on it. And so I encourage you to go look at the WMAs we have, go through the Dropbox, look at the WMAs you're interested in, and just read all about them. We have our deer harvest reports on there for each WMA. For example, say you're interested in Mahana in the Delta. You can go to the Mahana WMA webpage, look up the deer harvest report, and see how many deer are taken on Mahana, the age of the deer, antler sizes of the bucks. I mean, it'll give you great expectations of what to expect once you get there as far as deer density, age structure, buck size.
So basically go to that website, and so as far as if someone had questions about application requirements, it's all spelled out there. And I actually didn't know that you could dive down deeper and get topography maps and really understand the land. Man, those, the new technology they're using to help us make sure we understand what we're about to get ourselves into. The technology is amazing, isn't it?
It really is, and with that does come probably a little bump in hunter success rates, and that's something in the future we may have to start looking at.
Yeah, that which would actually maybe potentially reduce the draw number some.
I wouldn't say that, but just in general, now everybody has everything at their fingertips. WMA boundaries, you can see exactly where you're at. You used to. People were a little bit afraid, hesitant to get way off the road, way off the beaten path. And then GPSs came out and you could keep track. And now with the smartphone and your hunting mapping apps, it really has changed things. And on the bright side, though, it opens up more of the usable land for everyone, so it can actually spread people out.
Hey, I used to go everywhere with a compass in my hand, because as you well know, man, you can go 100 yards deep into a woods and get turned around a little bit. And and be lost, especially on a cloudy day when you're not exactly sure where the sun is. But man, when you got a smartphone in your pocket, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I actually looked at my compass. I mean, I keep one in my pocket, but I don't know the last time I actually looked at it.
Yeah, I'm kind of old school myself. I still carry a compass because, there's a few times that smartphone compass gets a little off, and especially turkey hunting, when I hear that gobble, I like to get a bearing, a directional bearing of them. So I know, like, he's right there, and then maybe have to triangulate them some. But I still carry a compass all the time turkey hunting. I still use mine a bit.
Yeah, we probably ought to come back and talk a little bit more about since you're such a stone cold turkey killer and have killed a turkey in every state except 2. That's a story in and of itself. Maybe we can come back and tell that story. Anyway, Nathan Blount, who's a wildlife management area biologist for the Northeast region, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Listen, have a great week. And God bless you. And as I always say, stay safe when you're in the outdoors. We'll see you next Monday.
See y'all.